Hello everyone, back into our latest update for the United States. So we're going to have a look at the weather for the next 10 to 14 days for the USA, and we'll extend out beyond that with BCFSB2, and that's going to take us through the next 4 weeks. That'll take us into like the middle part of September. So yeah, I'll get off that for you very shortly. Just say these USA forecasts are YouTube exclusives. We don't embed these to GavsWeatherVids.com. So if you want to know when we are releasing these on a Monday and on a Thursday, you will need to subscribe to the channel, click all notifications, and then YouTube will tell you when we are releasing these videos on a Monday and on a Thursday for the USA. Okay, let's get on with it then. And we're going to start off by looking at tropical Atlantic. So we have 3 disturbance areas. We've got a yellow X just here off the coast of Africa. So that one is disturbance 2 with a 40% chance of cyclone formation in the next 40 days. We've also got this red area just here in the Caribbean. So that is disturbance 1 with a 90% chance of cyclone formation in the next 2 days and 9% chance in the next 5 days. That looks like it's going to become a tropical cyclone very, very soon. And then we've got Tropical Depression 13 just here. This is Tropical Depression 13. Just here. That one is currently giving maximum sustained winds of 35 miles per hour with a minimum set pressure of 1,008 millibars, and 13 is moving west-northwest at 21 miles per hour. If we click on 13 and then go to static images, you can see that the track of 13 is to become, well, the forecast for 13 is to become a tropical storm by tomorrow, and the track is taking it into the Caribbean and then up into Florida for the early part of next week. Cuba on Monday, Florida by Tuesday. So that looks like it could be very, very impactful indeed. It looks as though these 2 storms are probably going to be named to me. So it'll depend which one gets named first, but one of these is probably going to be Marco. One of them is probably going to be Laura. And again, it will depend which one gets named first as to which one is Marco and which one is Laura. And then, of course, this one might get named as well at some point. What's coming out of Africa, I have to wait and see about that. But very, very lively and very, very active in the tropics at the moment. These are the latest. This is the latest Windflow Map from earthnullschool.net. You can see these 2 disturbance areas. This is this circulation just here is where we've got 13, and this one just here is the disturbance area in the Caribbean with a 90% chance of cyclone formation. You see the way the winds are rotating around. We're just starting to rotate. This one's just starting to rotate, but this one is more of a definitive rotation just here. So that's the slightly more advanced of the 2. Obviously, 13 is slightly more advanced out of the 2 of them, but this one is also beginning to pick up a little bit of rotation as well. So yes, it looks as though we've got Laura and Marco on the way. That's what it looks like to me. Let's move that around a little bit. Looks like we've got Laura and also Marco on the way, and we shall see. We shall see what happens over the coming few days. But of course, this one is forecast to do something a little bit like that and give Florida a bit of a pasting through the early part of next week as a tropical storm. Potentially, this one looks like it's heading more towards Mexico, Central America. So we shall see. Anyway, we shall see how it all plays out in the coming days. We keep a very close eye on that. This is the latest GFS forecast. So again, these are the 2 areas just here. So that's Tropical Depression 13. This one is the disturbance area that we've got just there. Keep an eye on both of those 2 areas as we run through and we see what happens. So we go through towards the weekend and the end of next week, and the first disturbance area, this one just here, not as impactful as this one. This one looks like it's a proper tropical storm that we've got going on there. This could remain just as a disturbance area possibly, but I think it will also become a tropical storm as well. And then into like the early part of next week, there is the depression there hitting Florida. We've also got something moving northwards in towards the Gulf of Mexico onto the Gulf Coast as well. Probably has its roots, that depression probably has its roots in the disturbance area that we've got in the Caribbean at the moment. And then this very significant storm over Florida there through the early part of next week. That is a very significant area of low pressure indeed. That moves northwards. That starts to move northwards in towards like the Carolinas. So by the sort of end of next week, we've got this system into the Carolinas. Just there, and eventually that starts to move out into the Atlantic and becomes an area of low pressure. And let's go back to it. So when it starts to move out into the Atlantic, it's a very vigorous area of low pressure. So this looks like it could be very impactful for those southeastern parts of America, and we will of course be keeping a very close eye on that in the coming days. This is how the 500 millibar height anomaly flow charts next week, 10 days for Penn State University are looking. We've got the ECMWF on the left, the GFS is over on the right. So 500 millibars is an area in actually high pressure, low pressure are being moved around by a jet stream. Blue extrapolates low pressure, yellow, orange, red high pressure. It looks like we've got a trough of low pressure here coming to the far northeastern corner of the United States and into eastern parts of Canada. A bit of a ridge over towards the northwestern coast. Otherwise, very slack gradients. Probably seeing the jet stream coming a little bit further southwards, possibly turning things a little bit more unsettled and cooler for northern parts of the states anyway, in the day 7 to 10 time frame. GFS is very similar, low pressure again to the northeast, a bit of a ridge just there. Jet stream again just coming a little bit further southwards into northern parts of the states, possibly turning things just a little bit more showery and slightly cooler for northern parts of America then. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. We're looking at Milwaukee in the Midwest today. So red line is 30-year upper air temperature average for Milwaukee. For the next sort of week, we're going to be above average. And then the temperatures drop as we get towards month's end, possibly going a little bit cooler as we go into the end of August and beginning of September. Maybe picking up again through the first week of September. Precipitation-wise, there's a lot of dry weather coming up, but turning much more unsettled as we go along, and really wet, potentially really wet for the start of September. Exceptionally wet there with really big rainfall spikes, torrential rain and thunderstorms for Milwaukee, through the early part of September. That can be very wet indeed. Temperature anomalies from the 20th, 28th of August are going to be hotter than average again in the west. It has been very hot in the west over the past few days. That heat transferring just a little bit further eastwards towards the Midwest as well as we go through the coming week. But really hot again for many of these western states. Just a little bit cooler parts of the far Pacific northwestern coast. On the eastern side of America, it's not quite as hot. Still warmer than average in sort of northeastern parts of states. But down in this southern and southeastern corner, it is actually a little bit cooler than average, but it will still be very hot through there. Precipitation anomalies look like this. So many parts of America are going to be dry from the 20th to 28th of August. Quite dry. But down in the south, around this Gulf Coast, looking really quite wet there. That is going to be a tropical storm and tropical cyclone related. Right, so this is how the latest GFS is looking for right now in America. So that's the current situation. We've got this heat, of course, pushing up the west side. Still very hot western side. Not as hot over on the east side. It's a little bit cooler with some heavy showers over on the east side. But see this real heat away from the northwestern coast anyway, the Pacific. See this real heat surging up western side again for today. Now, as we go into weekend, what we find is that the heat continues in the west. It does still stay rather showery in the far north and northeast as well. Into the early part of next week, actually, those eastern and northeast states start to get hotter as we go through next week. It starts to get hotter through the east and the northeast. It stays very hot out in the west as well. That's that disturbance area hitting Florida, by the way. So this is like Monday through to Tuesday. That's the disturbance area. Could either be Tropical Storm Laura or Marco over top of Florida by that point. So very wet potentially for Florida, and also very windy too as we go through into the beginning of next week. That disturbance area then starts to move onto the Gulf Coast, moves away from Florida and into this southeastern part of America just here. Otherwise, again, many parts of the states are looking pretty hot through the second half of next week. Heading up towards day 10, so that area of low pressure then starts to push itself over towards the Carolinas. So there's a disturbance area there heading into the state of South Carolina. And then moving out into the Atlantic as an area of low pressure as we head up towards day 10. Got the area of low pressure there that's done something a little bit like that. Otherwise, many parts of the states actually beginning to turn a little bit more unsettled at this point. Cooler air beginning to push down into the far north and northeast. Still hot in the west and the southwest. You'll notice these northern states and in the northeast beginning to go a little bit cooler and a little bit more showery. And that's a trend as we move through today's days 10 to 15. We do start to then generate quite a big area of low pressure here across the Midwest. We start to pull in some much cooler air from Canada around that area of low pressure into northern parts of states. Look at the upper air temperatures as we get into the early part of September. They really do start to fall down as we come down as we go into early September for many of these northern states. That's the coolest it's been for a really long time. Probably have to go back to May or early June, something like that, for the last time sort of northern parts of states and eastern states was cool as that. So a proper sort of autumnal or fall type feel really in early September across those northern states. But of course it's a very long way out. This is 2 weeks away. Still hot up the east coast. There will be a very active front that's associated with this. But will bring lots of heavy rain and thunderstorms. Remember, drop in temperature. That's the precipitation spikes that we saw for Milwaukee through the early part of September. Still really hot up the west coast as well. Look at that. The heat still goes on up the west coast as many of those midwestern and eventually eastern states are starting to cool down with the air pulling in from Canada. So quite an interesting start to September there with big thunderstorms, but a big drop in temperature in the north and the northeast, but very hot out in the west. This is how the ECM is looking. This only goes out to 10 days, of course. This is for Euro. Current situation, again, the heat surging up western side. Heat wave goes on for the west. It's very, very intense heat wave in the west. Not as hot in the east, and some showers in the north and in the east as well. Upper air temperatures through the middle of next week look like that. So by the middle of next week, actually, these eastern states are turning hot as well. It turns hotter next week across many parts of the Midwest and into the east. But the really intense heat, the dangerous heat, is still in the west, surging up western side, right way up towards the Canadian border and south all the way down to Mexico. Moving up towards day 10, that's how we're looking. So, again, the Euro just keeps the heat going in the west. It stays very, very hot out in the west. Try to pull some cooler air into the very, very far north. But actually, most parts of the states are looking hot with the ECM right way up to day 10. Probably an increasing risk of thunderstorms breaking out for northern and eastern parts of America. This is how the CFSV2 is looking finally. So it's a 500 millibar heights breaking down into week periods. The first week period takes from 20th to 26th of August. So the coming week is looking like this. A little bit unsettled in the northeast, low pressure there, and a trough down in the south. That, of course, is tropical storm related. We've got a ridge in the west and in the northwest that keeps the heat surging up west side. Otherwise, these east and northeast states are just a little bit cooler. Into week 2, which is the 27th of August, 2nd of September. So low pressure in the northwest then, a bit of a ridge in the east and the southeast. That could pull hotter air back up into these central and eastern parts of America. Week 3 is going to be the 3rd to the 9th of September. High pressure then in the north and in the west. There could be some sort of trough through here. It doesn't really show, but there might be a trough through here, bringing cooler air and more unsettled conditions back into the north and in the east through early parts of September. And then week 4 is the 10th to 16th of September with above average heights again, far North America going up towards Canada. That might send the jet stream southwards. That might start to turn things a little bit more unsettled and cooler for those central parts of America. Temperature anomalies looking like that. Proper northwest southeast splits in the north and the west. Much hotter than average in the week ahead from the 20th to 26th of August. But in the east and the southeast, it's actually cooler than average. It completely flips around. Look at this. Total flip around for week 2. So we find that the north and the west going cooler than average. The south and the east going hotter than average there. Total flip around for week 1 to week 2. Week 3 brings the heat back to the west. The heat wave returns to the west from the early part of September, the 3rd to the 9th of September. Meanwhile, it starts to cool down again in the north and in the northeast. And then we go through to week 4, which is the 10th to 16th of September, looking very hot in the north and the west, much cooler in the south and in the eastern part of the states as well. Remember, those are anomalies to average. So where it is looking cooler than average here in the southeast, for example, around this Gulf Coast, it will, of course, still be very, very hot. We're just talking about anomalies to average here. So that's like pale green, that's like half a degree below average. That will still be very, very hot for the Gulf Coast of America in the early part of September. And then finally, we've got precipitation anomalies. They look like this. So very wet in this southeastern corner. Again, this is all related to tropical developments. Meanwhile, northern midwestern states are drier than average, and precipitation in the west is near normal. But of course, for most of those west states, near normal precipitation at this time of year will be very, very dry. Always keep in mind, these are anomalies to average. Week 2, 27th of August, 2nd of September. Cool average in the far north, wet average, I should say, in the far north. Most central eastern part states looking drier than average. Week 3, precipitation from the 3rd to the 9th of September. A little bit drier in the far north again. A little bit wetter in the far east and south, otherwise near normal. And then week 4 is the 10th to the 16th of September. Drier than average in the north, wetter than average again in the south. That could be tropical storm related, once more near normal out in the west. All eyes are going to be on these disturbance areas and tropical storms. They definitely will be in the coming days. All eyes definitely going to be on those disturbance areas. And of course, the heat wave has been very, very intense and dangerous on the western side of America. It does look as though early September might bring the first push of sort of fall temperatures into northern and northeastern parts of states, with temperatures taking a bit of a drop. So it might start a bit autumnal in the far north and northeast of America by early September. But next week, Joe looks quite hot, I think, for most parts of America, except in the far south and southeast, where we're going to have these disturbance areas, tropical storms and so on, bringing some torrential rain and cooler temperatures. Right, that's it for USA forecast for today. We'll do it all over again on Monday. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to see these videos, be notified. Click all notifications, you'll be notified then when these are released on a Monday and on a Thursday. Subscribe to the channel, like, share, let us know in the comments what you think, and we'll be back on Monday with another USA update. That's all for now, though, and thanks for watching.